In more recent times, curtailed access to traditional pastures and expansion of irrigation agriculture have significantly reduced grazing areas. Migration routes are also affected by the construction of highways and intensification of traffic. The breeds kept by pastoralists retain many of the characteristics of their wild ancestors. Herders deliberately ensure that these aspects of behavior do not disappear. The Toda do not tame or select the male buffaloes, but allow them to establish dominance among themselves. This ensures that the genes of the strongest and fittest bull are passed on. The Pulikulam breeders follow a similar system. Grazing by livestock plays an important role in the ecology of its area. It utilizes land that could not have been used otherwise. For instance, in very low rainfall zones, at high altitudes, or even along roadsides. They also disperse seeds, support germination, and connect different ecological zones. They are part of the ecosystem, and removing them or replacing them with exotic or high-performance breeds can have negative effects on the ecosystem.
This is a very interesting case. Chilika is a lake, and a few years ago the authorities there did not permit the buffaloes to enter into the lake because they wanted a tourism kind of a story for them, and they didn't like the buffaloes roaming about in that area. But then consequently, when they noted there was about 33-34% reduction in the fish production in that part, when they noted it, then they came to know that, oh, we have done a mistake. Then they allowed again. It is because these buffaloes will defecate there, urinate there, and then that will be the food material for the zooplanktons. So they will grow in that, and then the fish will live on them, and the fish will grow. So that combination was broken, but then subsequently they had to bring them back.
The importance given traditionally to animals is evident from the numerous cattle fairs that are held for the primary purpose of buying and selling animals. The camel fair at Pushkar is one such fair held annually and brings in buyers and sellers from different parts of India. Unfortunately, pastoralists and their animals are perceived as enemies of the environment and are being restricted from accessing their traditional grazing areas.
People are not educated, they don't value that wild animal. For them, a goat worth of 1,000 rupees is more important than a tiger. So when they stay in the jungle or when they go for the grazing, then there is a wild animal versus domestic animal conflict. So definitely for them, this their cattle is more important. Sometimes they poison the animal or they try to get rid of them by any method.
ये जंगलात वालों की एक खाली मोनोपोली और कहना का है, बाकी सदियों से इस जंगलों में ऊँट पैदा हुए और ऊँटों में जंगल पैदा हुआ है, पर ऊँट से खाद और खाद मिलता है, मूत्र से उनको मतलब पौष्टिक मिलती है और जंगल इससे और खुराक मिलती है। ऊँट जंगल जितने कटे हैं ना, ये जंगल बर्बाद हुए हैं, कम हुए हैं तो कटने की वजह से हुए हैं।
भैंस वो पोटा करती है, ऊँट मींगना करती है, तो ज़मीन पोसी होती है, पौधा लगे, घास फूस होंगे, वो घास फूस ऐसा झाड़ बूट है तो वे कुलारी थी काटे दे मटे। भेड़ बकरी काटे हो दो तो नहीं काटे, तो भेड़ बकरी तो परंपरा से हकदार से सरती सरती आई है, आज नहीं सरती।
In the Aravalli hills of Rajasthan, the Kumbhalgarh Wildlife Sanctuary was established to protect leopards and wolves. In 2004, a Supreme Court order imposed a ban on grazing in the sanctuary, and since then, no grazing permits have been issued for the Raikas. This has resulted in numerous camel herds being sold in the last few years. The Thar Desert along the border of India and Pakistan was once a prime livestock breeding area. Here, camels were held in high esteem as a source of sustenance during droughts. But for the last 50 years, the government has favored crop cultivation and grazing animals are seen as pests by farmers. The destruction of grazing grounds has led to a decline of the camel population by 50%.
मवेशी खत्म हो जाए छा, मवेशी रह ही नहीं, राखे कटे रोडान जागा है थी तो राखे की जागा भेज दे हम फिर कौन करो पुष्कर ले जाए ना भी होंगे मूंगी भेज हम अरे नहीं अरे मैं नहीं ला तेरा बता ला 500 रुपये ले लिया तो नहीं तो ले ये है ना
Prior to the discovery of the Nilgiris by the British, the Toda considered themselves as the owners of the rolling pasture lands whose rich and varied vegetation supported their buffaloes. But under the colonial rule, large areas of pasture land were converted into tea plantations, and exotic trees such as eucalyptus, pine and blue gum were introduced. These plantations have destroyed the traditional pasture lands of the Todas.
Actually, during 1960s, the forest policy was to green the entire this Nilgiri mountains. They never see this pastoral grazing land as a part of the ecosystem. It's a savanna grazing land is known for the part of the ecosystem of the Nilgiri hills. But forest officials, they brought from the from Australian eucalyptus plantation in thousands of hectares. Not only this eucalyptus, again this pinus plantation, this wattle gum, all these plants, they have raised. It affected the ecology of the entire mountain system, and also the pastoralists, the tribals who have been for many generations depending upon the pastoral land, they also lost that land. And ultimately the breed population of the Toda buffalo is maintained by the Toda pastoralists is almost in the extinct stage. The number is reduced to around 2000. Earlier it was in many folds. So one of the main reason is about say some 40,000 hectares of this traditional pasture land system has been converted into this wattle plantation, eucalyptus and wattle.